Any machine that can do embroidery has so many different functions that you're able to do embroidery on, but the Bernina 990 kind of takes the cake. The Bernina 990 is a fabulous machine, and they've added so many fun features and things within it that we're really going to take advantage of it. So in this video, we're going to talk about the embroidery side of the machine. I'm Megan, Education Manager here at Rocky Mountain Sewing and Vacuum, and this embroidery machine, oh my gosh, there's so many things to play with. So let's dive right in. When I go on the home screen here, I can just click embroidery and it brings me right to our embroidery screen. And on our embroidery screen, we've got so many different things to talk about. So I'm going to zoom that in a little bit. You notice I can just kind of pinch my fingers to zoom in and out on the screen. But we're going to go and start with lettering, because a lot of us, when we first start embroidering, the first thing we want to embroider is our name, our friend's name, our dog's name, our kid's name, our husband's name, our wife's name, whatever. We want somebody's name embroidered because it's a lot of fun. And then you can be like, look, I did this. So on here, you can see there's tons of different fonts to choose from, and you can pick whichever one you want. So let's do something like that. So on here, I'm going to type quilting. Wait a minute, that's not how you spell quilting. So if I go over here, I can actually tap just like I can on my phone and add the extra letter. So that's one thing that's completely different. I don't have to go hunting for a little arrow that moves me over. I can just click right where it is, get it where I want it to do. What this also is kind of a live view. So I can go enter and say is, and then I can go down and say love. Or maybe I should say life. There we go. Quilting is life. I can hit, put it in the center. I can say oriented to the left, or right. That's your right. Oriented to the right, or keep it over to the left. And even if I click out of it, I should be able to get right back to it. So I clicked too far out, but that's okay. We're going to go back and we're going to type quilting. Oops. Let's fix that. Quilting. And then another thing is you might notice all the different texts that are available are right here. So if I want, I can completely preview what that text is going to look like. And I can pick whatever font I want. So I'm going to go, that one's kind of fun. So I'm going to go ahead and press yes on that. And right there it pops up on my hoop. The machine can sense what hoop is on it right now, so I've got the giant hoop on it. We might not stitch this one because I have a quilt hooped up, but I wanted to show you the functionality of this. If I go into edit, you'll notice that there's a couple of different sections, and I can actually minimize these sections to make it look a little less junky. But I'm going to go ahead and open up the lettering section, and I can see edit text. That brings me right back to where I was. So if I spelled something incorrectly, if I want a different font, I can do all of that here on the screen nice and easy. There's also the transform button, which is really nice. We've got horizontal. It switched it to vertical for me. I'm going to go back to horizontal, and then arch. And arch is cool because I can use my dials to arch it whatever direction I want, or I can do my plus and minus buttons as well. And just like everything with Bernina, if it's highlighted yellow, I can tap it and put it back to default. I'm going to go back a couple. I can also play with the spacing of it. So I can bring my letters really far apart, or I could do the opposite and bring them really close together to the point where they're starting to spell backwards. Why you would do that? I don't know, but it's nice that you have the option. There's also an undo button right on the screen here, so I can undo, and it puts me back to where I was before. Thank goodness, right? There's also line spacing, so if I did do quilting is life, I can make those spaces wider or closer apart, which is really nice for quilt labels. And then there's also styling. So with styling, that is something that I think of people mostly using when they're doing things on really fine material or something like a towel. So you can adjust your stitch density, your satin stitch value, your pull compensation. So this is something that we usually only have the option to really play with in embroidery software. But here we have it available on our screen ready for us to go, which is really nice. All right, so the other thing is on the screen, if I zoom in here a little bit, you'll notice around the design there's a bounding box. And if you don't know what that is, that's something you usually see in software as well. And what the bounding box does is it enables me to grab a corner and I can make the design bigger or smaller. I can also rotate the design just like that. So with Bernina beforehand, you used to have to go into your edit screen, open up edit, hit rotate, and then I could rotate. Now I can do it with just a touch of a button. You'll notice that there's a lot of things on this machine that there's like 4 or 5 ways to do it. This is one of those examples because I can use that button, I can go around the circle, I can hit the 45 degrees, and I can hit my plus and minus button, and I can use my dials. So they give us a lot of options, and in that sense, to me, it makes it really intuitive because no matter what way your brain works, there's going to be a solution for you. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that back to normal, and for now, I'm going to delete this stitch. We're going to get rid of it. I don't want to do text right now. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and then I'm going to add another embroidery design. Now in here, I can bring in any of the sewing stitches on the machine to do embroidery with. So I love doing that for buttonholes because you can line all your buttonholes up nice and straight, even though the buttonhole foot on this machine is very, very easy. But they've also added a new thing where you can do things like what's it called? Designs you've created. So if I go in my personal folder, this is actually what I was playing with the other day. So I brought in a sewing stitch, made it jumbo, and there's a stitch creator on the machine. So you can create different shapes out of decorative stitches. That is a whole video on its own though. It's really fun to play with. But you can create different designs like this. But one thing that they did with the 790 Pro that they included and continued on here, which I'm absolutely excited about, is quilting. They made it so you can quilt super easily with your embroidery unit. So right now I have a quilt hooped up. On here I can pick a quilting design, and my quilt is mostly triangle, so I'm going to look for a triangle design. Let's see. Maybe we do something, I don't want to go overly complicated. Maybe we'll do something like this guy. So now I have a design picked, but I want to make sure that it fits right in this triangle that's right there. This machine has a camera. You might notice there's a laser pointer down here already, and with that, that lets me know exactly where my needle's going to drop. This machine also does have a camera built into it. So up here on the screen, it's just one click of a button, really quick, and then I can use that to kind of figure out placement, but that's not what we're doing right now. This is just like your precise positioning, where you can use that needle point to find the exact point you want to be in. For now, I want to go to the view section, go up to my hoop up here, and now I can choose different options for the background hoop. So sometimes if you're embroidering something and you want it to be a white embroidery on black piece of fabric and you want to make sure that that looks okay, you can go in here and change the color to a black. And it makes it really easy to see visually what you're trying to do. Now, for what we're doing now, I want to scan in this quilt and make sure that that triangle fits in one of these triangles. So I'm going to do a scanned image. And then I can scan the hoop. Now, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my needle thread out of the way because it can kind of cause a little bit of a hair. It's not a big deal, but that way you guys can see a clearer image as we do this. And you'll see that the machine kind of tells me the Simon Says again. Make sure the area around the hoop is free of obstacles and the hoop can move freely. You'll notice that there's words as well as a video showing me what I need to do. It used to be Bernina Simon Says was just an image. Now it tells us too. And now it's going to scan the hoop. One thing I think is super cute up here on the screen, Bernina came up with their own version of the Microsoft Word paperclip. His name is Burnley, and you can see his little eyes thinking as it's scanning the hoop to show us exactly what's going on. This is what it means by get out of the way. All right, and with that, she's scanned the image, she's thinking, and then it will go ahead and pop up the image of my quilt that I've got up here. And there it is. So right then I can press my check mark and then I can move my design wherever it needs to go. And you'll notice when I move my design, the machine moves too because the hoop is hooked in. Now, I can tell you right now that that design does not fit in my triangle currently. So I'm going to zoom in and pan it over. And you'll notice I'm using 2 fingers to kind of manipulate in there. And I can rotate a little bit, but I want that to fit a little bit nicer. If you guys remember when the 790 Pro came out, there was a similar feature on that machine. So we're going to kind of emulate that again. So if I open my edit screen and go down to position, I'm going to close edit so it makes sense. I can now go to pinpoint placement. So we can do several different versions of this. So on pinpoint placement, there's a grid, there's the 3-point, and then the 4-point. For this, I'm going to do the 4-point because to me that makes the most sense. I can kind of change the different corners. So with the 4-point, I'm going to go ahead and pick a point and kind of fit it to where I want it to go. Now my top corner probably wasn't my best idea to start with first, but that's okay. Boop, boom. And then you'll notice the bottom dial here is up and down, and then the top one is left and right. I'm going to go to the next one. I'm going to close my little eyeball so I can see a little bit better. And then I'm going to bring this over to the corner. Looks pretty wild right now, right? And I'm going to go to the other one, bring it up to the corner, pretty close. And then I'm going to bring this one over so that it makes a little bit more sense like the other one. There we go. Now we're starting to look like we're going to fill the hoop. All right, so now I know it's the right height. I can bring it in. I can zoom in just a little bit more, and I can see that corner needs a little bit further down. But see how I'm kind of using the camera in conjunction with all of this so that I can make sure it fits exactly where I want it to go. And now that design should fit in my little triangle. Bring her down just a little more. Whoop. And I can go back. And then, just so you can see how different the design looks, I'm going to turn off my thing. And now I know that that is going to fit in that triangle exactly where she's placed right now. Pretty neat, right? So I'm going to scooch it in just a little bit more. There we go. And from here, I could add more triangles if I want to. I could do all sorts. But right now, we're just going to leave it as it is and get ready to stitch out. So the stitch out is going to be this little button right there. Boop. And now it does the stitch out summary, which I think is really awesome. So right now it says hoop auto detection, the giant, which is exactly what I have hooped up right now. The giant hoop is 12.1 by 16 inches or 305 by 410 millimeters. This hoop has a little bit of extra support here on the front and the back side so that it actually holds your fabric a little bit better. And it does have the kind of clamping system, so that, or ratchet system, sorry, not clamping, ratchet system so that you can tighten your hoop really easily even if you have weak hands or you can't find your screwdriver anywhere. I'm going to go ahead and put my 26 foot on, which is our embroidery foot. So I can tell it right there on the presser foot. And it does actually automatically detect what needle plate you have in, which is very nice. For embroidery, I usually like the straight stitch needle plate because the less in the way, the better. Now, there are quilt settings, which is really nice. When you're doing a quilt sandwich or when you're doing edge to edge, you often don't want so many jump stitches here and there. You don't want to have all those knots tied off. It gets really in the way. So I can turn quilt settings on and you'll notice my thread cutting just goes away completely. So that makes it so that when I do my edge to edge quilting, it will turn out perfectly every single time. I've also got a basting mode. So if I wanted to, I could go around the design or around the hoop. I've got color, so depending on the design I have, I can make it all monochromatic or a single color. Or if I'm doing something like 12 labels for Christmas projects, I can do reduced color changes and it will kind of color sort all of those different colors. And then there's fabric thickness. So if you're doing something that's really thick or really thin, you can adjust that and it'll adjust the presser foot height for you. So I'm going to go ahead and hit my green check mark because I'm ready to go. And I just realized I need to thread my machine quick, so I'm going to do that. Whoop. I'm just using normal quilting thread since I'm doing a quilt right now. Oh my goodness, and if you haven't seen it yet, it does have a fantastic needle threader. So all I have to do is put it through there, press this button, magic. So that makes everything a little less stressful. And then from here, all I need to do is green as go. I'm gonna let her think for a second, let her stitch, and then away she goes. Now your speed control does work on embroidery, which is really nice. And then over here, there's a bunny rabbit, which means high speed, which I like Puppy to go fast. So I've got her going, and that will make the machine go as fast as it can without damaging the machine or ruining the design. And I hope you guys can hear how quiet it is too. With the Smart Drive Technology embroidery unit, the machine embroiders faster and quieter, which is amazing. And if you look at the stitches, all of these stitches are evenly placed and they're not warped really big or really, really close together because this machine is smart enough to take any of those BQM, HQV, any of those long arm quilting files. It can read it and then adjust the size of it to almost endless. It's pretty incredible. So, oh, that's a cute design. All right, and I love that I can see the meter of how fast it's going, how many stitches are going, exactly how much time I've got. And if I have the My Stitch Monitor app on my phone, it'll show me that on my phone too, which is perfect when you need to do laundry when you're sewing. All right, and with that, it's finished embroidering. You can see that it didn't cut my stitch because I have quilt mode activated. Once again, that's to make it so that you don't have as many knots. And then I can continue on to the next triangle. I really hope you guys enjoy embroidering on this machine because it's absolutely incredible. You can do free arm embroidery. There's so many different possibilities. You can send designs wirelessly from Bernina version 9 software to the machine. You can read those long arm quilting files. Oh my gosh, the sky is the limit. Come in and check it out in the stores and listen to the embroidery unit in person for yourself because you will be amazed how quiet it is. You and I could have a regular conversation without having to shout over it. Thanks so much for joining me today. Make sure you check out the rest of the Bernina 990 playlist because there are so many things to talk about this machine that we can't just jam it into one video. All right, well, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much. Hey guys, here at Rocky Mountain Sewing and Vacuum, we always like to make sewing fun start here. And so we appreciate you watching this video. If you want to see more like it, check out this playlist. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you know what is happening here. So we'll see you guys next time.